Hey guys, so one of the coolest updates Genshin announced for 5.0 next patch, they are finally adding artifact synthesis using these things called Sanctifying Elixirs. This is like self-modeling resin in HSR, letting you pick a main stat of your artifact, except they even went further and letting us guarantee 2 substat affixes. Now that is crazy because for 9 out of 10 situations, that means you can pick a crit rate, crit damage on any piece you want. And by the way, as you can see, it's not just for old sets. This also seems to work on the new sets too. And we now know what those artifacts do, and just from reading these skill descriptions, they look insane. The one on the left, a team buff for Natlan supports. The one on the right, 40% crit damage for Natlan DPSs. But I will say with these artifacts, we don't know whether you get 3-liners or 4-liner starts. It could be guaranteed to be one of those, or it could be RNG. It could be either. So in this video, I'm giving you my analysis on how you might want to spend your artifact elixir. Now we don't know the exact income for these, how much we would get per patch. They did talk about it a bit in the live stream. You can see here you can claim one in an upcoming event. There's also this salvaging your leveled artifacts, but judging from this footage, it has a cooldown requirement. You can also find it in the overworld. This is the battle pass one. I think my initial assumption is they will be similar to talent crowns. So similarly, I would probably expect to craft 1, maybe 2 artifacts per patch. So in my opinion, the most important thing is crafting an artifact that allows you to stop farming a domain and move on. That's what I believe it's the most optimal thing to craft, is that final piece that allows you to move on. Now I wouldn't go as far as to say you should be crafting a flower or feather, because obviously these main stats are guaranteed attack and HP, so these are too common. But anything else, sands, goblet, circlet, I've seen thousands of players builds at this point, and any one of those could be that final rare piece you are missing. See for example my Navia, good flower, good feather, but it doesn't matter whether the last piece I needed was my sands, a goblet or circlet. These are all going to be rare and hard to get double crits of. And I think what matters most is, say if I was just missing this piece, until I finally managed to get this piece and complete my set for Navia, everything else is basically wasted. You'd be spending resin just trying to get that piece, and I don't care about Songs of the Days Past, so anything I get there is wasted. And I don't care about any other cracked pieces on this Nighttime Whispers set. Defense double crit pieces will be wasted. Technically, I could get small upgrades on flowers and feathers, but the only piece I was looking for is an attack sands to finish my set. So why is this important? Because there are published rates. You can see here on the Wikipedia, there's artifacts distribution rates, and many people, when deciding on what artifact to craft, they would focus on these rates. For example, you can see here EM goblets onset are the rarest pieces. EM pieces in general are very rare. Onset elemental goblets are also rare, and I will say that definitely does line up from my experience. I've been playing since 1.0, and as you can see, most of my characters use off-piece goblets. Playing for almost 4 years, the amount of double crit onset goblets, I probably just have, I have this one for official, I have this one for Neuvillette, but HP main stat is more common. Probably have this on Nahida, this on Xingqiu, but that's almost about it really. I don't know how accurate this is, but I also found this GitHub calculator. You can look at an onset goblet, put crit rate, crit damage, and calculate how rare that piece is. And you can see here, if you spend 160 resin per day, that's 4 condensed. You can do 4 runs per day for an entire year and still have a good chance of not even getting that piece. So surely you should be using your elixirs on getting that double crit on statistically the most rarest piece. That's what you'd think, but actually no, I don't think that's the best way of looking at this. It's definitely an important thing to consider, and crafting like a double crit onset goblet would often be the case, what you'd end up be crafting, but I don't think that's the most important factor. Why do I think that? Because your account is not an average rate simulation with millions of data to get results similar to this. The RNG you get on your account will not be one-to-one with this. Sure, it will roughly line up with this, but my point is all of these pieces are rare enough that they're all rare, and it's complete RNG when you're going to get a good sands, a good goblet, a good circlet. And my point is, say for example this was the last piece I needed, the longer you are spent stuck in that domain trying to get the one piece, you're wasting all the other bits of artifact RNG unless it's that piece. You know, if I already got this piece here, that means if whenever I get pieces like this, it's just wasted. If Fisher was the only character I needed to farm golden truth for, and I didn't have Churi, if I got pieces like this, it's wasted because I've already got my flower. Just to illustrate my point, I could show you 3 of my recent characters I've built, which is Navia, Clorand, and recently Emily. And just going through my pieces, I've got decent builds on all of them, but a key thing to notice is that they all have good flowers and good feathers, but none of them have ideal sands, goblet, or circlet. Same thing with Navia, pretty good flower and feather, but not the best sands, an off-piece goblet, and not the best circlet. Same thing with Clorand, good flower, good feather, not the best sands, off-piece goblet, not the best circlet. So even though attack sands are statistically more common than a crit damage circlet, at the end of the day, my point is they are both rare enough and my pieces are both mid. I guess a good analogy would be like shopping. When you're going to the store, you're going to the store to buy what you need, what applies to you. There's no reason to be a sucker and buy something else since it's on discount and it's better value. If you don't need that elemental mastery double crit goblet, then don't craft it. It's not what you need, don't get it. So with that being said, what do I think is best? I think there's 2 main options you have to go with this. Number 1, you either have an old character that you just want that one piece to finish their build off, and this would apply whether they're sets in a domain or in the strongbox, or a newer Fontaine set to farm, because either way, if you get that one piece, you either don't need to strongbox that set anymore, or you don't need to farm that domain anymore. You can move on to the new domain. Or the second strat is using it on a rare piece on one of the new sets, like a Dendro or Hydro Goblet or Crit Circlet for one of the new DPSs on this Obsidian Codex set. Now the thing with the second strat is, and it worked exactly like this in Star Rail 2, you should be using the elixir after you've farmed this domain a bit, just to finish off that final piece. Say for example you want to finish Morlani set, you don't use it on a Hydro Goblet straight away, because you might get lucky and you might end up getting another Hydro Goblet whilst farming for the rest of the set. It's the same thing with Genshin as Star Rail. Like I said, you should be farming until you've got 3 of these pieces, and then you're probably missing either a sands, a goblet, or a circlet. Then you pick one of the rare pieces that you're missing and you finish your build off. So what is the benefit of that second strat? It lets you enjoy the newer character quicker than normal with their correct set, rather than using a copium set and painstakingly farming for multiple patches trying to finish off that one missing piece. That's rough. You're trying to enjoy the new character, and ideally the thing you would need to craft would be the onset elemental goblet with double crit, because statistically that's the most rarest piece. But like I said, it's very important. The sample size you will have farming a new set is such a small sample size that you're not going to be hitting the statistics exactly. You could be missing a good sands or a good circlet as well. Short term, they are all rare. Now there is a big downside with the second strat, and it sort of ties back into why you might do the other strat instead, is that doing this, finishing off your DPS set quickly, it doesn't help you finish a domain. Why? It might be obvious, but even if you finish your 1 DPS build early, you're most likely gonna keep grinding this new domain for a bunch of teammates. There's a big essay here, but you can tell this is great for supports, and you might even need to farm multiple DPS sets. So you're going to keep grinding this domain, and each time you do that, you're increasing the chances of you getting a similar piece to what you already crafted with your Sanctifying Elixir. Now the last factor in this video is the elixir cost, which is, as they showed in the live stream, it isn't a one-to-one trade. You might actually need up to 4 elixirs to actually craft an artifact. As you can see here, feathers and probably flowers cost 1 of the elixirs to craft. The sands cost 2 elixirs, and the goblet and probably the circlet too cost 4 elixirs, because generally people consider goblets and circlets hard to get. Now this is actually a big deal to factor in, because this is how they've evened out all the odds. As you can see, attack sands 26% chance, a crit damage circlet 10% chance. You can say attack sands are a bit more than twice as common as a crit damage circlet, but since the sands cost 2 and the circlets might cost 4. If you can get 2 attack sands, then there's 26% here and there's 10% here. They're actually quite similar then. Sure, we do know that the goblet costs 4 as well, and even if you can get 2 sands, 1 goblet will still be a lot rarer. Sure, that is true, but it's less significant now. So in conclusion, that's why I believe in the 2 best strats. Number 1, using it to finish off a domain or even strongboxing a set for your favorite DPS, because then you're done with them and then you can focus on newer domains or newer strongboxing for artifacts where you need lots of different sets. Or number 2, if you don't care as much for older characters, using it to skip out some of the grind for a new character like Morlani or maybe Kinij. Maybe you want to get some gameplay videos out or just want to flex your new character build quickly. That's definitely a valid reason. But the main takeaway is using it on what your account needs rather than focusing completely on what's the most optimally rare artifact to synthesize. So that's the end of the video, and let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Let me know if you guys had similar thinking. I'm looking forward to 5.0 and thanks for watching.